Alright, hello everyone and welcome back. This is episode 2 of a series video on how to fly the Boeing 737. So in episode 1, if you haven't already watched that, we already went through the basics of the controls and views on how we can move around and explain. And we looked at the joystick settings as well. So now let's have the fun started and actually turn on the aircraft. So in this video, we're going to do what's called a cold and dark startup. It's not the hot startup because the engines or the APU is not running to start the engine, and we don't have any ground power supply to. Usually they'll connect yellow, pneumatics and all the electricals to the belly of the aircraft, but that's also not connected here. So we'll start on our own power, which we're going to do now. We're going to head over to the overhead panel and get the batteries going. Now this doesn't give you immediate electrical power to power the displays, so you'll get the standby displays working, so because the standby backup power will always run from the batteries. But in real life also you need to have at least one generator running for the Boeing 737. Just like multimeter setting here, you can actually move around this knob and check the voltages, how much is it drawing. So in a good healthy battery, it's 24 volts. If you have less than that, let's say 15 or 8, that's very low voltage, you might not have enough power to crank and start the APU. So it's pretty much like a car, honestly. And again, there are chapters as I mentioned, and you can skip ahead. So once you have the battery, you want to start the APU. So to start the APU, you want to go over to the left, bottom left, and you can start the left fuel pump, because the APU actually draws its fuel from the left pump. So now you're going to flick the switch once and again twice. And you want to keep an eye at this exhaust gas temperature of the APU. So that's increasing. Spinning up the auxiliary power unit. And this is what's going to give us the necessary electrical power and the pneumatics required to turn on the engines. Look back up. And what you're waiting is for the blue light of APU generator. Yep, that's available now. You can use the APU generator bus. The APU is providing the electricity. You can see here it's giving 404 hertz at 114 volts, and that should be sufficient to actually show the displays. Now in real life, the displays will still not come on, especially the primary flight display should not come on, because you should also align your inertial navigation system up here, so it's like unclickable, so we'll just leave it as it is. So after the alignment is done with the navigations, you can actually turn on the yaw damper, you can turn on the electrical hydraulic system. The engines are not started, so use the electrical heating. And you can see the amps are also increasing when we do that. This gives you the heating for the windows. So if you want some lights up here, you can crank up this panel brightness knob selector here. You can also get some lights back in the circuit breaker. So now to start the engine, I just want to take your attention to this panel right here on the right. This is the pneumatic bleed system. 1 and 2 both have 2 stages. It has N2 and N1. You can actually see that here. This is the N2 stage and this is the N1 stage. The N1 stage is up in the front, the large fan blades, and N2 is in the core of the engine, which is deep inside the engine. So you've got to spin N2 first, and that has a shaft that connects to the front of the engine and it pulls in the air. So we have a high bypass ratio. Most of the air doesn't even enter the core. We spin up both the stages and we can produce thrust. Right, so to actually get the N2 stage running, we need to turn the core. One way is to use the ground power supply or the ground pneumatics, but we don't have that. We'll use the APU bleed. The word bleed literally means to bleed. You know how you lose blood? We're going to bleed the APU of its air. You're going to use its air to push it into the left engine. So this is the left engine right here. You're going to turn on its bleed. So you notice the duct pressure has now increased to above 20 psi. And you notice actually there are 2 needles there. If I turn off the isolation valve, you'll see the second needle has turned to 0. Because the left side of the aircraft includes the engine number 1 and APU pneumatic bleed. So these two are clubbed together, but the right side is only the engine 2 bleed alone. One thing is you don't want to turn both the bleeds together, otherwise you'll get the dual bleed warning, because the engine 1 is much more powerful than APUs, there will be a backflow and damage the APU. So you always want to keep that off when you want to turn the engine. So we're going to have the APU bleed on. We're going to help the engine number 1 to start. So to start the engine, you go down in the engine start ignition selector and turn it to ground. Ground is for starting with the APU bleed, as I mentioned, and auto will take care of itself. Continuous means the ignition will keep on firing. I mean, it's going to damage the components if you keep on igniting. If there's high rain or conditions that make the engine flame out, you could keep it to continuous to help it stay alive. The flame would not go out, so you won't have a flame out. And flight is basically to do a windmill restart. So in case of an engine flame out at high altitudes, you cannot actually use the APU to start, because at high altitudes, the pneumatic pressure from the APU significantly decreases. It's not enough to churn the N2 stage of the engine. In that case, you also need 300 knots or above. At that airspeed only, you can do a windmill restart. So that's the reason we have a separate setting for windmill restart here. As simple as that, just flick it to ground. And you will notice the N2 stage is spinning up rapidly. And it should stagnate at about 30 N2 percentage. As soon as it reaches 30, you can start giving it some fuel. So it's at cutoff, there's no fuel being mixed, so I'm going to increase the fuel. Okay, and with that, if you look up, the N2 has spin up much more, and the N1 is also spinning a lot now. So you can see hot air coming up from the left engine, it's spinning. Right one is still not started yet. Could quickly start the right engine the same way, put it to ground, and when you do that, just make sure it's at auto or open, because as I mentioned, you need the air to pass all the way here through this valve and come here. And again, do not turn on the engine bleed, so it's going to backfire and damage the APU. Another procedure I would show that can actually turn off the APU bleed, so we're not going to use any air, and actually turn off the APU itself completely. And we noticed that we lost electrical power because that was the only bus we were using, the APU bus. So we don't have the APU now. The APU is cooling off. So, but the engine 1 is already started, so we can actually use engine 1. Now we are using the engine 1 electrics. You could actually turn on the right engine using engine number 1. So that'll be a cross bleed engine start. So now you want to turn on the engine 1 bleed, and it's going to cross all the way to the right engine, so you don't need the APU. So for that, you just want to look down and just give power to the left engine. And you don't want to do this on a terminal building. I am in a terminal building right now, otherwise it's going to shatter all the glass and injure personnel on the ground. But because we're in a simulator, for the sake of it, that's a lot of power, but just about 60-80% should be good enough. Okay, so you can see the engine number 1 is running at high RPM. Now, since we have more pressure available from the engine 1, you can turn on engine 2. And I can keep the engine 2 bleed off, right? We don't want to steal air from it. We want to use all of its air to turn the engine. So what I'm going to do is turn on the right pumps and put it to ground. Using engine 1's bleed, we are turning the N2 stage of engine 2. Now, as soon as that reaches 30, we are going to add in some fuel. And now sometimes I forget to, turn on the fuel pumps, so make sure you have the fuel pumps running, otherwise you'll be wondering what did I do wrong. Engine number 2 is also up and running, so I can actually reduce the thrust now. There's no need for all the thrust now. And if you want some lights here, you can get this. Background lights, main panel lights, and the co-pilot side as well. And you can press Y to toggle on and off your yoke. With that, you will notice the engine start selector have gone back to auto, and since engine number 2 is on, you can also use its electrical generator. So if you If you go back to Gen 2, it was not providing anything, but Gen 1 is. But now if I turn it on, it will provide. So 400 Hertz at 115 AC is a regular voltage, and that also actually charges the battery. So now the battery is at 28. Notice it was at 24, so it also charges the battery. So now you can actually use the bleeds, no worries. So you can turn on both the bleeds now. You can turn on the L packs and the R packs, which is basically the air conditioning. The electrical bus systems are good. You can turn on the lights if you want. And I would just hold off with the turn off and the taxi lights, and because we are still at the gate, we want to do that only when we reach the runway. You can also turn on the passenger seatbelt sign, right, like this. And these two will give you access to the in-flight entertainment system and the cabin utilities like microwaves, coffee machines. You can turn that out too. Now that the engines are also on, you can also turn on the engine 1 and 2 hydraulics. I also do want to point out that these are the integrated drive generator disconnect. So if you actually disconnect them, you'll never get them back unless you have to reload explain again. So this is basically telling to manually disconnect and decouple the generators. Gen 1 and Gen 2 will get disconnected from the engine. Imagine a car with the engine running, but you disconnected the alternator. So there's no electrical power on board. Sure, you have the batteries, but it's not going to last that long. So once a disconnect happens, you cannot put it back in. So this is an emergency disconnect in case the engine is damaged or it's on fire. You do want to protect the alternators and for future repairs. You disconnect it, right? And it's going to give you a warning, engine number 1 drive fail. And you will not have the generator from that engine anymore. It'll go to 0. Similarly for this, you will no longer have the generators. And now the aircraft has actually switched to the battery power, so the voltage is now dropping, and it's using the inverters to convert to AC power, and the battery is gonna start discharging when you lose the main generators. And the only way to fix that is actually reload it, explain completely. So the mechanics would have to come in and manually attach it using a lever in the accessory gearbox of the engine. And speaking of a trim, you just want to make sure it's about 4 to 8 degrees in the greens. So I'll set it to about 6. Okay. And now we are ready to taxi the aircraft to the runway. And in the next video, we're going to see how to program the FMC, the flight management computer, through the CDU, the control display unit. It's right here. It says nav data out of date right here, but you can actually clear this button, and we're going to look into the whole system in the next video. Alright, so that completes the full startup procedure for the Boeing 737-800, and congratulations, you have successfully turned it on. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.